Good morning. This is Norma Cowie with Wednesday's Norma Talk. Now, as I said last week, if you have been looking, that I was going to do basics. And we talked about thinking and thoughts and how to change some of them and what to do with them and how important they are. How they are like the framework of a house, building a house. There's your framework, is through the thinking process. But what fills in the walls? What makes it more complete and coming together is the feeling level, the emotional level. And so I'm going to just explain for those of you who have not heard this before, but it's something I talk about fairly often, is that I have come to the decision of, or the belief of, or whatever you want to call it, that this is an emotional planet. When I've been out and about in the cosmos through a reading that I do, I haven't not really found a lot of emotional planets. Most of them are planetary, or they're just an absolute essence vibration. And it's like there's no, again, not the feeling that we think and quite with emotions. But this planet, as far as I realize and think, is that it's alive. That the emotionality that it exists is a loving feeling. It's a loving planet, but it is also has this emotional poignant that we come into being here. And part of our, you might say, destiny is over lifetimes is to be able to handle all feelings easily, understand them, and don't have them rule us. Oh yeah, we still have times, like I do at times, get caught up in something and, but you come back to center really fast. And so in a way, it's like being what we had as children, which was a seesaw. And apparently they have something similar now in parks, but not like we used to have, because probably they're dangerous in some ways. But you needed two people to balance things. So you had to be balanced. So, to seesawing, you go back and forth. And it was a lot of fun. And that's life. That sometimes we are balanced and sometimes we're not balanced. And what is that? That's not our thinking. That's our feeling. That's how we're responding. And sometimes we respond to things very, very strongly. Other times it's just like we're aware of our feelings. One of the things I teach my clients, my students over the years, is to be able to name your feelings. What I began to discover was that as I was getting into feelings, how do I isolate them? And what I found when I began to name them or even put a color to them, they receded, they relaxed. And so I find today that if I'm feeling something, if I usually can voice it and say, I'm really feeling frustrated, or I'm feeling even angry, or I'm feeling upset, we don't tend to not worry too much about those wonderful, delightful feelings. I'm feeling super happy, but I will still say that. I said to myself the other day, I'm feeling really peaceful today, or I'm feeling very together. There's a together feeling. And other times it's kind of like you've got little things in your life that you wrestle with, or what's going on in the world today you wrestle with. But other than that, it's like we have a well of feelings. So let's talk about how feelings are. What they are is, as far as I'm concerned, remember, this is my concepts, this is your body's way of talking to you. How does your body talk to you otherwise? Oh, with an ache or pain? No, that's because you've hurt it, or you've strained it, or it's tight and you haven't exercised, or whatever. But how does it talk to you about what's happening in your world? It gives you a feeling, and that feeling comes up. Now, if you can name that feeling, it just recedes and gives way to other, because you must remember, part of this is learning how to balance the mind and the emotions, because this is where the power is. This is where you get powerful and being able to express, is when we have the mental and the emotional balanced. And sometimes it takes some time to get those two balanced. They're usually the mental in our society. I should just qualify this. In our society, the mental or the intellect has been given a lot of power. That this is how things are. And today, when you think of big tech, et cetera, out there, that's all it is mental. They don't give the emotional part of it too much quotient, except maybe to get you addicted to certain games and stuff like that. As a movie goer, I've never been a gamer, but I was, and love my movies. So you can get caught up in things. But how does your body actually talk to you about how it feels about a situation? And most of us haven't learned how to listen. We don't like a lot of our feelings. They don't feel good. And there's a list of feelings that show you don't feel good. And that actually goes out through your vibration into your aura so that other people can kind of pick up you don't feel too good either. But if you can learn how to put a name to it, and I started, honestly, way back when I was examining this, putting things in color. So what color is this? What shape is this? Where in my body is it? And then I would play with it. I would go, well, if I take this and I make it, maybe it feels square and brown. Well, what if I made it pink and round? And what if I moved it from here to there? And that began my journey of really coming into understanding more of what my feelings were actually saying. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about the anger, sad element that we find a lot in our lives, but I have to tell you a story what happened to me. And I know I have repeated this story before. Long time, one of the early ones. When I was 10 years old, I hit my little brother, he's 3 years younger, over the head with his toy gun. It's all like a rifle thing. But the moment I did that, and I hit him on the head, I believe, because he kind of went down and cried. My thought process was, though, I cannot get angry or I'll kill somebody. Now, where did that thought come from? Now, most of you know I'm a reincarnationalist. And what I believe today is that I had killed somebody out of anger before, because there would be no reason for that thought to be thrown up out of my subconscious. For 20 years, I did not lose my temper at all. I stuffed every angry piece. I think once a little bit of it crept through at one time, but if it came up, man, I suppressed that. Well, when I was 30, my husband at the time said something to me, and I'll tell you, it was lucky he was nearly 6'6" and 240 pounds, because I went for him. All that anger that had been repressed for 20 years burst forth, and I would have killed him if I could have. Obviously, I'm not that big or that, I'm pretty tall for my age, but he just held me while I screamed and raged and went on. So what I want you to understand is that anger and frustration that has been suppressed is not healthy, number one. But number two is that when you feel anger, it's usually because you feel helpless. And it's the helplessness that we need to go for. Sometimes, because it was easier for me to be depressed or sad rather than angry. Remember, angry was not the thing. So I would I would just get depressed because it's still repressed in there. And so what happens to many of us is that we're not being in the present. What we're doing is, like I did after 20 years, having to deal with those old angers that came out. I spent a long time really using my releasing process. I spent a long time releasing anger, sometimes long sessions. I had a lot of anger stored in my body. And it's now, to be honestly, you can feel anger, but it's fresh. And it's in the present, and it's not going to dictate. You're not going to go out and kill somebody and knock their heads off. You may verbalize how upset you are or whatever. And I do that. I have friends for that. This upsets me, blah, blah, blah. Because it just means I know that it's because I can't do anything about it. Or if there is, I don't know what to do about it. So it's like a matter of acceptance. The acceptance plays a huge part in dealing with our feelings. To accept first how you feel. That's number one. Then to be able to accept what you're going to do with that. How are you going to play that out? How are you going to deal with that? But I always find once I get aware of it, is to go deeper to what am I feeling helpless about? And if you really if you're going to go deeper than that, again, it's usually because you feel unworthy of having whatever the situation is that's made you either sad or mad, is that you don't feel like worthy in some way. And sometimes it has nothing to do with you. So all you can do is accept this is how it is right now. It doesn't mean it's going to be like that forever. And if you can get into that place of knowing that you have worth because you're connected to the universal love energy, what happens is you relax a lot more because you know that somehow something somewhere will take place. Now, it's interesting because I happened to be this morning, wake up very, very early, very upset over a piece of news that I'd heard yesterday and just kind of let it skim across the surface. And then I had discovered that in my sleep, it had multiplied. And when I woke up feeling, what am I supposed to do about this? I don't know what to do. So I wrote a whole pile of letters in my head, which is going to the intellectual side. Again, not that they'll get sent because I don't even know where to send them. But it was like how we cannot control our world. If we want to control our world totally, it doesn't work that way, except maybe if you're way up on top of everything. But for the majority of us, all we can be in command of, and you'll notice I changed the word from control to command, is ourselves and what we choose to do and how we choose to handle it or how we choose. And hopefully you, like myself, have a group of friends that you can talk about things to and they understand and listen and then let you resolve what it is that you have to do to resolve inside. Because the emotional quotient is what actually propels us. Whether you look at it, I don't talk too much in positive or negative. I talk about want and don't want. In other words, do I want this in my life or do I not want this in my life? So this is often how I make a decision on what I'm going to do or where I'm going to go and how it's going to look. But mostly I really encourage people to put a name, if possible, to the feelings that you have. If not, put a color or a shape or something. Let your body know that you are aware of it and that you trust where it's coming from, because many people don't understand. They've had multiples of lives, perhaps, like me, many lives. And sometimes I call them, I know a lot has been talked about timelines, and I really understand timelines, is that in that timeline that you're dealing with, where you've had basically the same elements coming over and over, they're important. So you can have these crazy thoughts sometimes. It doesn't mean you have to act on them. It's about being aware of the feeling that propels those, because somewhere in space and time, it's an unresolved issue. But that's talk for another day. In the meantime, I really would like you just to be able to be comfortable with your feelings without judgment. Without judgment. It's no use judging your feelings. Their body's telling you, you don't like this. This feels funny. This, be more aware, maybe sometimes it's like, it's like, oh. And when those emotions are working with your mental processes, it makes life a lot easier. All of a sudden you become aware of something, or your attention is drawn somewhere, or you get a funny feeling that says, get out of here. Many, many things, but you need to have the two work together. So this is not about the mind is more superior, the emotions are where we're at. It's about them working together to create unity, to create an awareness of where you are at in the present. Because really, there's only the present. Whatever's happened before is behind you, and the future's not here yet. So we can always change our trajectory. It's like if you're driving a car and you want to turn left or right, you can do it at the proper time, when the road goes left or right. But it's like our lives are like that very often. Sometimes we come to a halt and go, what's going on? Where am I? This wasn't where I wanted to end up. Breath. Okay, so where do we want to end up? Get the reins of your life in your hands so that you can choose direction of where you want to go. But don't judge your own feelings. They're yours. They're precious. They're telling you something. So you want to take a look at what they're telling you. Maybe you're bored. How come you're bored? What is it you need to do to initiate some excitement or interest or whatever? There's many feelings people kind of go, oh, and they get sad sack over them. It's just your body telling you, you're not very happy with this. What do you want to change? And then your mental might come in and say, well, we could do this and we could do that. And then if you're kind of in a depressed state, always it'll be, no, I can't do that. But I will guarantee if you do that, you haven't resolved your issues. You haven't resolved past, even this life or other lives or other times or whatever. And so it's really about becoming aware in the moment and allowing your feelings to be your feelings and accept them. And as I say, if you can't name them, because I certainly couldn't when I started, put them in a color, put them in a shape. Let your body know that you're listening, and your body will start responding in a way that'll be more effective for you. Well, that's my talk for today. Just want to have you be aware. On Sunday, I'll be back with a Sunday thought. And Monday night at 7, I'm doing a whole new show called Mental Mind Treatment, which is a type of prayer method. And I'm doing it live, so you can, through the chat element, talk to me. So it's just a matter of coming in onto the channel at 7 on Monday. And I did my first show on this last Monday. I had 2 people come in, and that was perfect because I'm just doing a short time to see how this works. This is something I've done for a lot of years, and I needed to do something more indirect with people than just talking. And that's what I'm doing for a week. Anyway, we shall see how it goes. As I say, I followed my feelings. I started this. I was very nervous. And if you look on the side, it'll be there. The video's there from Monday night. So I'll be back next Monday. So you look forward to Sunday. So I've got Wednesday, Sunday, and Monday. So wishing you all the best. Have a great week. And talk to you I'll talk to you Sunday, Monday. I'll talk to you Wednesday again. Thank you. Bye now.